Everyone counts, and the 2020 census is how that great promise is kept. Respond today online, by phone, or by mail and help inform hundreds of billions in funding for education, health programs, and more. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov. Well, folks, Donald Trump was in Atlanta today unveiling his plan for Black America. It is called the Platinum Plan. Quite interesting. He presented this in front of a group of African Americans. He designates the KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations, called for making lynching a national hate crime, and also they want to make Juneteenth a national holiday. Now, according to the plan, according to the campaign, the plan will increase access to capital in Black communities by almost $500 billion and create 500,000 new Black-owned businesses. Here's Donald Trump talking, y'all. And then, of course, when he's done, I will deconstruct this entire plan.
And I'm here today to announce a brand new plan to deliver more opportunity, more security, more fairness, and more prosperity to Black communities. We call it the Platinum Plan. Platinum Plan. And that's a contract with Black Americans, and it's going to be something that people talk about for a long time to come. If you vote Republican over the next 4 years, we will create 3 million new jobs for the Black community. Open 500,000 new Black-owned businesses. Increase access to capital in Black communities by $500 billion. And this includes investing in community development, financial institutions, and minority depository institutions. Build up peaceful and safer urban neighborhoods with the highest standards of, and you know this, of policing. We want the highest standards. We have to have highest standards of policing. Bring even greater fairness to the justice system. We did criminal justice reform. We remember that. Even greater, we will create a national clemency project to right wrongful prosecutions and to pardon individuals who have reformed their life. You saw Alice, right? We love Alice. She had another 24 years to go. Can you believe it? She served 22 years. She had another 24 years to go. It was ridiculous. And she is a great woman. Create a ladder of opportunity for African American children by delivering school choice to every parent in America. So important. Give Black churches the ability to compete for federal resources for their communities. Bring better and tailored health care to address the historic disparities that we've had for so many years. You know that. This includes investing in treatments for kidney disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, sickle cell disease, and maternal mortality. Advance home ownership and wealth building in the Black community. Bring more manufacturing back to the USA, which we're doing anyway. And back to the inner cities, which have been largely forgotten, although not so much in the last 3 years when you get right down to it. Thank you. And Democrat policies that import low-wage foreign workers from overseas to replace Black workers in our inner cities. Joe Biden cares more about the citizens of foreign countries than he does about Black Americans living in our own country. I will always put Americans first, and that includes, very, very importantly, Black Americans. And there's much more in our plan, which we're releasing today, so we'll get everyone a copy, and it's actually been very well received, and we appreciate that. The Platinum Plan is a bold vision that we can and really will achieve over the next 4 years, and we'll be able to do it, if not sooner. Unlike my opponent, I'm not a career politician, thank goodness. I get results, and I keep my promises.
Now, in the same thing, he talked about, how he has led this record investment that guarantees funding for HBCUs. All week, I used to see me rocking HBCU gear. Today, I'm representing Harris Stowe out of St. Louis. So, is he lying? Yeah, let's talk about this. First of all, let's talk about it with Dr. William Spriggs. He's the economist at Howard University, and Walter Kimbrough, president of Dillard University. Walter, I'm going to start with you. Okay, Donald Trump keeps touting how he has saved HBCUs, how he has made funding permanent for HBCUs so they don't have to keep coming back to Congress every year for asking money. You have been tweeting about this. You are an actual HBCU president. So I would think you probably would have a good idea if this funding is permanent. Is what Donald Trump is saying false? Is it true? Is it false? Is it a flat out lie? What is it?
Flat out lie. And it just drives me crazy because particularly for the program that got funded, there are over half a dozen federally funded programs for HBCUs. He's talking about this one program that started as a pilot program by George W. Bush for 2 years. That program died when President Obama got to office, and everybody beat him up to say, look, you need to keep this money. So then President Obama comes back like, all right, I hear y'all. I'm going to make it a 10-year program. So it's a 10-year program.
Hold on. So hold on one second. That's first. It was a 2-year pilot program. You say it died, meaning it was over, meaning Congress had to reauthorize it. Okay. Right. First of all, that program, what is it and how much money are we talking about?
So it was a 2-year program for $85 million a year for HBCUs.
So $85 million that was shared with multiple HBCUs. $85 million.
$85 million.
Okay, go ahead.
$85 million. So then President Obama took that and made it a 10-year program, $85 million a year. And it also is additional money for minority serving institutions. So you'll hear some people say it's $200 million a year, but that includes the Hispanic serving and Asian Pacific and all of that. So it's a 10-year program. So it started to die, and people started lobbying to the Trump administration before in 2018 to say this program is about to die. We want to continue it. He let it die too. Alma Adams came back and wrote the new bill called the Future Act, which made it another 10-year program. And then wrestling with some of the Republicans, it ended up becoming a permanent bill, but they can still only fund it out for 10 years. So we'll wait to see what happens in 10 years. But as he said today, it's a 10-year program, $85 million a year, which is exactly the same thing that we had under President Obama.
So let's be clear. Again, I had Congressman Alma Adams on this show. This was not a plan that originated from the White House.
No, not at all.
It was not. Congressman Alma Adams, who also got with Republican Mark Walter from North Carolina, whose wife is a Winston-Salem State graduate. They were the co-chairs of the HBCU Congressional Caucus, drove that thing through. So when Trump is saying, I made it permanent, he's talking about a single program that's $85 million a year.
Exactly. That's all he's talking about. And when he takes credit for it, people will defend him and say he signed it. But this bill passed both the House and the Senate with a veto-proof majority. His signature was performative. Let's call it what it is, because there was no way he was going to veto something that was already veto-proof. So he didn't do anything. He never even tweeted about it saying, hey, let's support this. But after it passed, he's like thanking Lamar Alexander. He's thanking Ivanka, who's I don't think ever been to an HBCU function, and didn't even mention Alma Adams, which is the height of disrespect that he treats black people with.
And in fact, it passed the House. It was held up in the Senate by Lamar Alexander, and Congressman Alma Adams was putting pressure. Why? Because she came on this show talking about that very issue. Now, when he says record funding, I've increased HBCU fundings than what Obama did. True or false?
Also a lie. Funding has increased, but if you look at his budgets, which they call the skinny budget, which comes out the beginning of each year, every year his budget has either been flat for HBCUs, or the year when he cut out the $85 million, it was actually a cut. So he can't say I've even asked for more money. But his first year, he blew up everything because he had to have his military stuff. So he went in and they added to the budget like a 20% increase. That's when Rand Paul went on the floor of the Senate and raised hell saying, look, when Democrats are in control, the Republicans are the conservatives. But when Republicans are in control, there are no conservatives. He was pissed because now they're going to spend all this money. So when they increased the budget, Kamala Harris and Doug Jones came back to say, y'all got this new money. Let's get the HBCUs more money, which is a 14% increase. So when you hear people say he increased HBCU funding the first year by 14%, I can show you the letter where Kamala Harris and Doug Jones asked for that money. He didn't ask for it. If you look at his budget, it's zero increase. So he's taking credit for other people's work. And every year he comes back. Flat budget for these programs, for the 2 Title III programs, for the minority, for the HBCU graduate programs, for the HBCU master's programs. They're always flat. And then the money goes up because Democrats come in and work with Republicans and increase the funding. And then he says, look what I did. I did all this for you. So all of that is a lie. None of his budgets support what he's saying now. Yes, the money went up, but he didn't ask for it.
Last point for you. I've had people who, oh my goodness, Kimbrough's making it up. There's a photo. You were one of the HBCU presidents who was here in D.C. when they took photos in the Oval Office. So it's not like you were not in the room.
Right. There is one photo that has me in it. Now, I'm not in most of them because when it went down and Omarosa said we are going into the Oval Office, right then and there, I knew this is a setup. This is not good for us. And so I am actually in the back of the room next to the picture of Andrew Jackson. So in 90% of the pictures, you will not see me. I can show you a picture that shows that I was there, but I wasn't trying to be in those because now anytime there's a story and it's bad for black people, that's one of the pictures that they use. So
no. But the point I'm making is you were there. You know right. What was said. You were sitting there listening to it. And so when somebody says, that's just sour grapes. And also for the MAGA people, how long have you been an HBCU president?
I'm in my 16th year.
At 2 different institutions.
2 institutions.
As president. So that's for all the folks who say he don't know what he's talking about. He's sort of making this whole thing up. Anything else our audience needs to know about the truth about Donald Trump and HBCUs?
All of it is inflated. The things that he should take credit for. So, for example, Dillard was one of 4 institutions impacted by Hurricane Katrina. We had a loan that did get forgiven under this administration. Secretary DeVos worked on that. I was in meetings with her. They can take that as a win. They brought back Summer Pell. They can take that as a win. But there are other things that happen. We've lost the Perkins loan. We've had TRIO programs and Upward Bound programs lost from HBCU. So it's a mixed bag, but he always presents it as, I've done all this, I've saved you, when there are some losses that we've had as well. And then he made up some stories about things he did for us, like allowing faith-related institutions to get federal funding from the HBCU Capital Finance Program when we were already getting that money. He gave a speech last year in D.C. saying, I had all this change. So he made up a story, and then he never did an executive order to show that he did what he said he was going to do. So that's the problem.
Hold up. That was an executive order that he said he was going to do. What was that executive order supposed to be?
It was supposed to make sure that faith-based religious institutions affiliated HBCUs would be able to have access to the HBCU Capital Finance Program. But we already have access to that program. We're actually getting that money now. So when I heard the speech, I was like, what are you talking about? We already have access to this money. And so he says, I've done this for you, but then he doesn't go back and create an executive order to do what he said he was going to do anyway. So he made it up, and then he didn't follow through with a made-up executive order to fix the made-up problem.
Walter Kimbrough, President, Dillard University. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
All right, folks, we're going to further continue our deconstruction of this platinum plan with economist Dr. William Spriggs, of course, economist with the AFL-CIO, also Howard University. All right, Bill, so let's, first of all, it's an insult, the name of this, the Platinum Plan. I guess he thinks that's going to appeal to black folks who like diamonds, gold, and platinum. So let's just sort of deal with that. But I want to take this thing through, and I want to go one by one because I'm calling this a deconstruction for a reason because we did the exact same thing with Joe Biden's plan, where we went through this whole deal and we laid out exactly in terms of what it calls for. And so let's deal with this that he's touting. First of all, we're going to go to the first thing, 3 million jobs. He said, let's just pull the other graphic up, y'all, and we're going to switch between the two. So go there. First, 3 million new jobs for the black community. Did he say how that's going to happen?
No, he didn't. But let's remember he's in the hole because we have fewer jobs than when he took office right now.
He took office, black unemployment was 7.5%. It drops down to what, 5.1% in late 2019. Right now, black unemployment is what, 13%?
Yes. I don't count the drop because what counts is what's the score.
Right. So the point is,
I don't care that you tell me at halftime we were ahead.
Right. So it was 7.5% when you came in. It was here. Now it's 13%. So when you say, I'm going to add 3 million new jobs, all you doing is talking about I'm going to replace what we've lost.
What he lost.
What he lost, right. Since he want to claim everything. All right, next one. He says, create 500,000 new black-owned businesses. How?
He doesn't say how he's going to do it. If he doesn't address discrimination in lending, he can't. And we saw what his Treasury Department did. The payroll protection program rolled out, and black businesses were disproportionately hurt because their competitors got loans, they did not. And we know that within that short space of time, we lost a way disproportionate share of black jobs, while his Treasury Department did nothing. It took Congress to come back, reauthorize the PPP program, and direct that the money went to CDFIs, community development financial institutions, and minority depository institutions, so that the money would get to black businesses. $1 late.
But here's the other deal. But we've also we're losing.
He had an opportunity to just keep the number of businesses, and he failed.
We've been losing businesses because of COVID, and so when you say you're going to add 500,000, same thing. You're trying to add what we've actually lost. So let's go to the guys. Pull the next one up. Put the graphic up, please. Come on. I need the graphic. Come on, no, the graphic, please. Thank you. Thank you. That one. Increase access to capital in black communities by almost 500 billion. Okay, but here's the piece. Y'all, read the details. Come down to my graphic, please. Where the 500 billion comes from is seeking infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual 500 billion federal contracting opportunities. He's talking about the same money. So
that's right.
That's not 500 new billion. He's like, oh, I'm just touting what is over here in the infrastructure plan.
But that's infrastructure. That's not to black businesses.
Precisely. Keep going. That's just again walking people through. Next item on the graphic. All right. Safe urban neighborhoods with the highest policing standards. That's a waste of my time. But you know what? Let me just do this here. Now, let me go to my deal here. So let me go right down to that one. So here's what's quite interesting about that. Because this is the detailed plan that I have right here. So he says that, y'all gonna love this one. National Clemency Program, got that. This is right here. Restore safety to America's great cities by working with police departments. I'm gonna bring in Rob and Amisha right here as well. And accountable models of policing, including diversity training and accreditation standards. Rob, how can you say you're going to have diversity training for cops when you just got rid of diversity training on the federal level?
I was going to make that point. You know, he has an executive order getting rid of diversity and training, and he has an executive order where he doesn't want us to tell the truth about history. He says, so we don't want to deal with the fact that we've had racism. And he says this line in his executive order that says, you know, the Civil War dealt with this, and people are acting as if we were built on a racist country. We were, and we still haven't gotten rid of a lot of things, and we need to deal with it and really tell the truth about it. So he's not even telling the truth of history. He doesn't care about diversity and training. He's doing this to make some white people, and I guess the few black people that are supporting him, feel like they have something to talk about. Like, okay, we know you're saying racist stuff. We know you've done all this stuff. So we got to have something. And now he can just give them this talking point, like, I'm going to help black people by doing this. The man has been there for 4 years, and you're going to tell me 45 days before the election you got your black plan? You can say black people now? I mean, I'm just saying.
Amisha, I'm looking here again under this whole deal of fueling access to capital for black-owned businesses. He says increase opportunities for small business lending and technical assistance through community development financial institutions in order to grow business and create generational wealth opportunities with over $400 billion in lending. Then he says, examine alternative ways to build credit, including rent, utilities, and phone bills. Make the Minority Business Development Agency permanent. Appoint its leader to the Assistant Secretary of Commerce level. Create a sub-office of African American Affairs and engage with private sector advisors to ensure real-world plans and solutions. Increase the number of Black-owned contracting businesses, financial services entities, and private equity investment funds through regulatory reform and up to $40 billion in government funding alongside traditional private investment. Advance lending relationships with financial institutions, particularly those businesses who weren't able to participate in PPP. Host senior executives from major financial institutions on a quarterly basis to advance new and equitable lending programs for Black communities. All of this stuff that he said that he wants to do in the second term, he hasn't done in the first term.
He could have done it first. He could have done it at first. Hell, he could have ran on it in the first term. He did not. There was nothing stopping President Trump, who also, be mindful of people, his party also has the Senate. He could have done this immediately, long ago. Like, there is nothing stopping him from doing any of this. But to the point mentioned a minute ago, we have a president who is now listing off things that run in direct contrast to the things that he says on his stump speeches. He's not somebody who cares about race and equity. He thinks of those things as unpatriotic. And if you talk about them, then you're not American. He does not care about lending practices that disproportionately affect African Americans. And we've seen that time and time again. He won't even have a sit-down conversation with the NAACP or the National Urban League when both of them and their CEOs have spoken to these issues directly and have plans that I believe it looks like he lifted literally out of those plans some of the language that he's using within this new, very odd framework of this platinum plan, which sounds a little sketchy in and of itself. But I think that what President Trump is doing, and it's not to get the Black vote, he already knows that that's not really going to happen for him. What he is trying to do is to mitigate some of the disastrous commentary that he's had that makes some white people feel uneasy, particularly some white suburban women. So when you talk about there being this racist rhetoric and you talk about there being, all of the issues that the Black Lives Matter movement has brought to the forefront, this is a president who now is saying through means testing and through hearing a lot of what, the white people in the street who are holding BLM signs are saying is that, hey, maybe if I put together this plan and bring out some trinkets of Black people to Atlanta, because be mindful, the majority of the folks who were at that Atlanta gathering today weren't from Atlanta, they flew in from other places, then maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to show to good-meaning white people who otherwise would not, be fervent supporters of his, that I'm trying to do something. Be mindful. He could have done this months ago. He could have done this years ago. If he wanted to actually implement these plans, he could have done it. He knew that the PPP loans, by the way they were designed, they were not meant to help Black businesses.
But I want to go through this because, again, I'm looking here and I'm just sort of laughing, Bill, because he says grow minority-owned businesses with additional tax cuts to stimulate hiring and investment. Bill, have the tax cuts overall for all of America, have they stimulated hiring and investment?
No, the economy actually slowed after the passage of his tax credit. So when you look at the growth of Black employment, it was already underway when President Obama was president. And so what you look at is a path that actually slowed, and of course now it collapsed on him. But the Minority Business Development Agency is under his control. He doesn't need the Senate or Congress to do some of the things that he mentioned there. Instead, he undermined that agency. He gutted that agency. So for him to now say, oh, but if I get reelected, I'm going to do something different, as if he didn't undermine it before. And the PPP, as I mentioned, he knew that it was failing Black businesses. That was directly under the control of the Treasury. He did nothing. It was only when Congress stepped in and reauthorized the additional amount of funds and directed them explicitly to minority-owned businesses that you saw the PPP program respond. He had his first time at bat. He whiffed. He totally missed the ball. The more damaging thing, he says, is later in this plan when it comes to Black home ownership.
No, hold on, wait. Hold on, wait. I'm going to get to that. Hold on. I'm going to take it by section. In his plan, he says, encourage onshoring and development of domestic manufacturing to increase supply chain, business development, and employment. Sounds great. Has manufacturing jobs, have they increased or decreased under Trump?
They've decreased, and in key states, Ohio and Michigan, the auto industry has, in fact, stalled and faltered under his control.
So he today,
he hasn't returned those jobs, the steel jobs that he promised,
right,
because of his war that he declared was going to get us back jobs by his reckless use of tariffs, did not, in fact, generate new jobs in that industry. So his track record on that is that this is not materialized. He totally bungled the whole world atmosphere when it came to trade, when he attacked the Paris Accord, and instead of using the green economy as a way to leverage the WTO, the World Trade Organization, and actually get us rules that would benefit manufacturing, he went in the opposite direction, undermined the whole credibility of all the exercise, and we've lost jobs under him.
Right. So in his speech, he touted, oh, I'm going to, he lied in his speech, because I listened to all of it, saying we brought jobs back home, we've increased manufacturing. That hasn't happened. Now let's go to the education piece here. Federal, state, and local community partnership to close failing schools to replace them with full school choice and education opportunity to put American parents back in control over their children's future. Well, the reality is you can't on the federal level, you can't close schools. Those are local decisions. It's not going to happen. I'm a supporter of school choice, but what he's laying out, okay, remember, during the campaign, he announced his school choice plan at a failing charter school in Cleveland, Rob, that had a score of an F, that was founded by the founder of K-12. And I said, it's pretty stupid to announce a plan at a failing charter school. Well, that's how dumb he was. Continue to protect the vital role of HBCUs. That's it. It's a line. Don't know what the hell that means. Increase the amount of Pell Grants and allow for vocational employment and second change homecomers. I don't know what the hell that is. Has he increased Pell Grants, Bill?
He did restore access during the summer, but as you heard from President Kimbrough, the rest of what he's done to students is to undermine the program, because he's cut all the support for their parents. So this is a great letter that Leslie Baskerville has written on behalf of NAFIO in response to this repeated claim that Trump wants to make, that the little bit that got added, and as President Kimbrough pointed out to you, not because Trump asked for it, not because he asked for it, but the things he did ask for undermined their parents. The things that made it harder for their parents to get money, to survive, and now to have jobs. He undermined our students in so many ways that his efforts really made it more difficult for our students, not easier. And so simply adding the summer takes away the Perkins loans that you heard President Kimbrough mention. Those Perkins loans are the ones of the job training that you just mentioned in that sentence. He attacked the Perkins loan and took them away. So to say I'm going to do something by bringing them back, okay, but you destroyed it. So I'm going to give you credit 4 years from now for putting back what you took away. That wouldn't make sense.
I love this one here under healthcare, Rob. He lays out all this sort of stuff: reduce costs, opportunity to be in charge of your own healthcare and choose your own doctor, eliminate long-standing healthcare disparities. Really, that's a single line. No other detail there. Investments into the cause and cures of kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, sickle cell disease, maternal mortality, and other diseases that disproportionately affect African-American populations. But he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you already beat me to the point there. And this is just like, do you remember, Roland and Amisha, do you guys remember Trump Steak? Do you remember Trump Airlines?
Yep.
Okay, well, most people won't, and that's because none of it worked. It all crashed, and it was all bullshit. This is what this is. So I'll just sum up what this plan is. It's Trump's way of just making it seem like he's doing something to not be racist, that he actually cares about black people, to make some white people in swing states feel as if they can be justified in voting for him. And maybe he's not a racist. No, he definitely is a racist. He's a con man. He's the same person he's been. So don't fall for it. There's nothing here. It's a nothing burger.
Now we're getting to the end of it. Prosperous black communities. And Bill, we'll go here. Champion federal policy reforms to advance home ownership initiatives. In his speech, Bill, he talked about how African Americans enjoyed the most prosperous moments in history under him. He said black home ownership was at its highest rates. No, that was under Bill Clinton. He talked about the same thing when it came to black wealth. No, it hasn't been under him as well. What the hell have they done with home ownership in the last 3.5 years? I've seen nothing.
No, but worse than that, the number one reason we don't own homes is because of discrimination in the housing market. And he undermined the Fair Housing Act. He took as many steps as possible within the time he's been in office to fulfill that other thing he's been saying to that other crowd. Remember how he told everybody, if you get Joe Biden, you're going to have Cory Booker as a neighbor. That was his signal that I am going to continue the policies I have been pursuing to resegregate, intensify the segregation of American housing. And that is what I'm going to deliver to you suburban voters. So his real actions stand in the direct way. It's the wall that keeps us from being able to own homes. He's making that wall taller. He's not tearing down the wall.
Amisha, he says here, go to my iPad, make Juneteenth a national holiday. Do you recall when that could have been done in July? And it was Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin who refused to allow unanimous consent to make it a federal holiday. I don't recall Donald Trump saying, stand down, Senator Johnson. I don't recall a single tweet by saying, make this happen. Again, this is bullshit.
No, you're absolutely correct. Not only did he not say stand down, this is a president who acted as though he didn't know, and maybe he didn't know what Juneteenth was until after his plans to hold a racist rally were actually shot down. I think that a lot of this is basically word vomit, to say the least. It's President Trump literally Googling what Black people want and then stealing from Black organizations. Like I said, the National Urban League, the Congressional Black, the CBCI has actually pushed a lot of this stuff, the Congressional Black Caucus Institute. We've also seen it from organizations like the NAACP. But if you do a quick Google search of the top things that matter to Black people, basically all he did was threw in these benchmarks that don't have any full or inclusive plan of actually how to get them done. He's not being informed by actual African Americans who are leaders in education, who are leaders in healthcare, who are people who are leaders in housing, people who are actually fighting the good fight out here and have some very specific means of trying to make things better for African Americans across this country. None of this is informed rhetoric. These are empty promises, again, that he's not using or even directing towards Black people. He's directing this towards white people in swing states because he assumes that because there are so many white people who locked arms with Black people during the Black Lives Matter protests and the George Floyd protests, that now he has to say something because in those states, things are very tight for him. That's what he's doing. This is a last-ditch effort. There isn't a single thing on this list that he couldn't have done years ago if he wanted to do it.
Rob, prosecute the KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations and make lynching a national hate crime. First, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, just testified the other day that Antifa is not an organization, it's an ideology. Two, make lynching a national hate crime. I'm sorry, do you recall Donald Trump telling Senator Rand Paul to stand down, who was blocking, again, lynching from a national hate crime, a bill that Senator Tim Scott co-sponsored with Booker and Harris? I don't recall Donald Trump saying jack. So when it could have been made a national hate crime, where was Trump?
He was doing what Trump does, saying some other bullshit that doesn't matter. I mean, this is what the man does. I mean, he figures out what to do with the moment and what can I say at this moment to make some people believe me and hope that it works. I think Misha said it best. This word vomit. He's just throw some shit up against the wall, see if it sticks. I mean, this is what he's doing, right? And he's just taking some ideas and then letting people go with these talking points to say, see, I'm not racist. You can talk about these things. Never mind all the things that I've said. Never mind the fact that I encourage somebody to go out and kill some people again in Wisconsin. We're not going to forget that. That's one example out of many. Never mind that he called African countries shithole countries. Never mind. We can go through. I can be here all day. I mean, but it would take all the time in your show. I mean, the man is as divisive as they come. He's toxic. He's racist. He's a horrible leader, and there's nothing he can do to change that. Only we can change that. And hopefully
Bill, this is interesting. Fuel black. Go to my iPad. Fuel Black farmers and access to healthy foods to address food disparities. And then favorable trade. First of all, they didn't even proofread this. Favorable trade deals to bring back manufacturing jobs and health Black contractors, farmers, inventors, and consumers. I don't even know what that is, Bill.
Let's guess maybe they meant help.
Right. I mean,
I
health,
don't know.
not health. But fuel black farmers and access to health. Black farmers don't need access to healthy foods.
I'm going to assume that what he means is he's going to help black farmers get access to urban markets so that they can have more channels for supplying food.
I'm sure John Boyd would laugh at that one, but go ahead.
But again, he's had these opportunities. He's been in charge. He's had an opportunity to do all of these things. In fact, if you look at what he's saying there, not only did he rip it off from the Congressional Black Caucus in many points, but these are things that the House passed that the Senate failed on. And in essence, what he's saying is Nancy Pelosi is a good Speaker of the House. That's what he's saying. And so the next time you hear him say anything bad about Nancy Pelosi and how she's a communist and going to turn the American system into socialism, you just say, well, Mr. President, on when it came to black people, you thought Nancy was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
So I find this one very interesting, Amisha. We only got two left. Defend religious liberty and African-American churches that lift the conscience of our nation. Really? The man don't even go to church.
He doesn't go to church. I would like for them to describe, what this actually means, because at the end of the day, I think that this goes back to him trying to speak to a specific audience, and that specific audience ain't black people. So when he's talking about religious liberties, when he's talking about bringing these things to the forefront, he's not talking about black churches, because we know that when people were shot in the black church just a few years ago, he really showed very little concern whatsoever and found good people on both sides of a situation. So no, I don't think that this president gives two sense about the black church at all, nor does he care about faith and religion. But I think that he is speaking to an audience, again, that is not black people. He's speaking to an audience and trying to lean in on those swing states, but he's speaking to white women specifically right now. The same white women who he's done this entire campaign cycle of trying to make afraid of black people in general. So when we're having these conversations, I think that it's very interesting, his timing of releasing this plan, but also the fact that, it comes out literally within a day of us hearing about the Breonna Taylor case. He is very strategic in trying to be mindful of what he thinks that those people in the suburbs actually want to hear, but he doesn't have any real intent on making any of this happen at all.
And of course, right here, the last one. Collaborate with cities and counties to address mental illness and substance abuse. Really, Bill? My God, you're going to collaborate? No, I think probably what those cities and counties would say is, where in the hell is the money?
Well, and again, this is the defund the police movement, right? The whole movement is, why are all of these funds going to the police when the biggest encounters that disturb us the most too often involve people who have actual mental health crises and their families are desperate to try and get help? They call the police instead of being able to call mental health experts. So, he criticized people want to defund the police, but that's where the money would come from. The money would come from, don't fund the police to do this, fund the professionals who know what they're doing when they encounter someone in a crisis. That's what this is saying. So he doesn't disagree with the people that he's been sniping at and saying sounded ignorant.
And of course, I want to do this here, Rob. This is from the National Alliance on Mental Illness from August of 2019. That they lay out here that Donald Trump was going to be slashing funds for mental health care.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about what, facts and things that actually he's doing, not words that he's saying. These things rarely align when it comes to Donald Trump. So yes, he doesn't care about mental health funding. He doesn't care about black businesses. He cares about getting reelected, keeping power, and making those who have supported him have something to talk about. They have nothing to talk about other than a horrible record of leadership and I'm sure the most divisive president we've ever seen.
Folks, I did reach out to the Trump campaign, sent an email to two individuals, asking, did any of them, they make anyone available to come on this show to actually discuss and defend this plan? No response. Bill Spriggs, I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, back to our Roadblock Unfiltered video in just 1 moment. As our community comes together to support the fight against racial injustice, I want to take a second to talk about one thing we can do to ensure our voices are heard. Not tomorrow, but now. Have your voices heard in terms of what kind of future we want by taking the 2020 census today at 2020census.gov? Now, folks, let me help you out. The census is a count of everyone living in the country. It happens once every 10 years. It is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. The thing that's important is that the census informs funding, billions of dollars, how they are spent in our communities every single year. I grew up in Clinton Park in Houston, Texas, and we wanted new parks and roads and a senior citizen center. Well, the census helps inform all of that and where funding goes. It also determines how many seats your state will get in the U.S. House of Representatives. Young black men and young children of color are historically undercounted, which means a potential loss of funding of services that helps our community. Folks, we have the power to change that. We have the power to help determine where hundreds of billions in federal funding go each year for the next 10 years. Funding that can impact our community, our neighborhoods, and our families and friends. Folks, responses are 100% confidential and can't be shared with your landlord, law enforcement, or any government agency. So please, take the 2020 census today. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.